just a reminder. So my name is Natalia Balasnikova. I'm one of the co-chairs, co-conveners of the Special Interest Group. And I'm here representing the other three co-conveners. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm just going to very briefly talk about our interest section. We mostly focus on aging and educational development or any age-related changes in learning engagement. We also advocate for more practical research on effective learning strategies for aging populations worldwide. And because we're now growing our community to include a lot of different practitioners from all over the world, we're increasingly paying attention to culturally diverse educational initiatives for seniors or older immigrants, for example. A lot of our members talk on research and explore benefits of intergenerational learning. That's a big interest for us. And we also showcase different policy and economic issues in educational gerontology briefly. So if you're joining us because somebody shared the link to this talk today, you can always sign up for our listserv using this QR code. I also just wanted to take a second to highlight that the call for papers for BSG annual conference is now out. You can see it on the website, britishgerontology.org. And this next year is going to be hosted by University of Surrey, and it will be held from 25th to 27th of June 2025. The call specifies that the society is inviting oral presentations and poster presentations, as well as symposia. So you can check out the call for papers. And if you're interested in submitting something, we really, really encourage you, because we want to highlight a lot of educational gerontology research during the conference, and we'll be happy to join you at these sessions or promote them through our listserv as well, so people can attend it as well. So now it's my pleasure to introduce the two speakers for today. First, we have both from Canada. First, we have Marina Kornieva, who is a co-founder of A Better Future for All in Toronto, Ontario. Hi, Marina. And also specifically Pasidenki Social Club for Ukrainian ladies 60 plus. And Marina will talk about her journey starting this project and what successes they've noted, and just in general talk about the informal social club as a learning space. And then we'll turn our attention to Spring Gillard from Vancouver, British Columbia. So hi, Spring. And Spring is a coordinator of English conversation sessions at UBC Learning Exchange in Vancouver, British Columbia, and she'll talk about their work there. And I'm just very grateful for both of you for taking time to talk about your experiences and sharing it with our membership. So what I thought about is maybe we can listen here to the presenters, and then have a nice question, kind of Q&A session for both of them. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll kind of monitor it. Or you can write them and then just ask them when we have time. All right, so now I'm going to spotlight you, Marina, so you can go ahead and talk first.
My name is Marina Kornieva. I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit called A Better Future for All. We're a quite new organization, about 2 years old. And as you can imagine from the name of the organization, we're looking for innovative solutions that will benefit everyone and will kind of lead us to a better future together. So one of the issues that we identified is loneliness and social isolation, because it impacts so many aspects of human life. And because we started working initially with Ukrainian newcomers, kind of responding to a crisis, We noticed a lot of people that were coming to Canada from Ukraine. They were super stressed. They had difficulty connecting with, people here because it's not a planned immigration. For them, it was all sudden. They had to pick up all their belongings, or sometimes it's only like a couple bags of things, and leave everything behind. And families were separated. So when they were arriving in a new country, uh, I could feel it, like talking to people, like they were all talking fast and they were stressed, we were stressed. And that's one of the things I thought we need to kind of de-stress, create an environment where we meet people, and it's almost like a spa environment. I started renting my party room in my building, putting nice Ukrainian music. We were cooking borscht, so it's kind of like a creating sensory experience for people, kind of distressing and creating environment where it would be more conducive for making social connections. So they were not so much stressed, like in a government agency, they go, they're still tense, right? So with us, they were more relaxed. They could come and spend whole day with us. Like we would have donations in the room, we would have food, music, we were bringing people, like our connections are just people we knew from the neighborhood. We had like retired school principal, for example, who could answer questions about schools for children. We had some other people that in the community that worked in real estate and business, could provide advice on housing, etc. But anyway, so during that time when I was interacting a lot with Ukrainian newcomers, I noticed that it was 3 generations of women coming to Canada, and the most vulnerable was seniors, because if younger people, they went to school, they went to they had jobs, they were interacting with people more. The older generation, they were afraid, they were timid, like I said, depression, etc. So they were staying inside mostly, and like you didn't hear much about them unless you really spoke with the family when they opened up to you. And all of them were saying that they left everything behind, they have no friends, where would I go, I just babysit kids. So that was like one thing kind of going on. The other thing that was happening in my personal life is that my mom was diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's, and 2 years ago we started actually noticing things. So before, if it was just confusion sometimes, and like a lot of times she forgets things, then finds things. Now it became more and more pronounced, like really weird stuff. And I'm not going to tell you about personal hell I was going through with dementia and how it was unfolding. But one thing I learned when I started reading about the dementia, and I didn't know much about it. I noticed, and doctors were saying that one of the factors that could delay things is the loneliness and social isolation. Like you need to have a friend, and so you need to communicate. You need to use your brain. And I thought about it, like we are social creatures. And then I thought about my mom. Since COVID, she moved to another area. She started living with us, and her world became smaller, really, because she didn't make new connections in a new area. It was just me and my son, really, that she was interacting with. And I thought, wow. And I actually could notice that decline since COVID, because she started suddenly interacting with less and less people. It was less connections in her life. Uh, so I thought it's like, if there is no real treatment for dementia, the only thing we can delay, something like creating social space where she could meet other ladies and make those new friends. I thought I can do that. That's doable, right? And so those are 2 inspirations why I started Pasidenki. I decided to help Ukrainian seniors that were coming here, and also lonely, say my mom. And then I thought bringing people that lived here, like my mom, for 20 plus years in Canada would be beneficial for newcomers too. So it's not like exclusive, sort of like it needs to be only for Canadians and only for newcomers. And so that's actually good, because it will help them to integrate better in life, into Canadian society. So we have about 1/3 of the group is Canadians, like my mom, who lived here, but they speak the language. They speak Russian or Ukrainian or both, but plus they speak, English, some English, and they have this good understanding of, how to navigate Canadian system, and they could answer questions for people. It really became that perfect mix almost that people really enjoyed interacting, because for newcomers it was interesting to meet those locals like my mom, and for my mom it was interesting to see, it was like like new friendships, like how would she meet those people unless we kind of created that environment. And for them also it was a shared youth experience, like they sang same songs, they watched same movies, so because they lived back in USSR like 80 years ago, 60 years ago. So it became that space where they quickly connected, they quickly started singing together, they quickly started doing things together. And that's what I noticed with my mom. One of the sort of successes of the program is that when I tried to do things with her just on my own, like trying to make her draw or like learn some new skills, she was very resistant. And then in a group she was still resistant but less. It took us one session, for example, when she was refusing to draw or paint, and then second session she did something, and then she had a painting. I have a picture of her holding that painting, and she never really painted ever in her life. Like I've never seen her doing that. And then she started singing, and she started dancing, and this is all in the span of like 3 months when we were meeting once a week only. Imagine if this was happening like every day. I don't know what kind of like amazing results we would achieve, but I noticed like very early, like suddenly I saw my mom and other seniors were saying, and even their family members, they were saying that, that they were opening up. And once we opened them up, there was no way back. Because now suddenly they're saying to me then, well, maybe we'll go to other senior centers and sing for those lonely people. And I'm like, wow, but I thought they were lonely. Now they're saying they don't consider themselves lonely anymore. They want to help other lonely people. I'm like, okay. And we went to library and they're saying there. And so I'm now looking for all the kind of opportunities for them, where else they can go and sing or dance. We had sort of after 19 sessions where we were meeting every week, we had 20 sessions, kind of like fundraiser slash concert, where all ladies could show what they've learned and their talents. And a lot of them went on stage, sang, they danced, they spoke publicly, and we had about 200 people in that church room. So it was quite a big concert slash fundraiser, and everybody contributed in some way. They brought food. Some people did master classes for kids, like crafts. So suddenly all these ladies started talking about giving back, that they have some skills. And even like I have a video, for example, where my mom started singing plus it's Ukrainian. Like she heard Ukrainian when she was young, like when we lived in Russia, because we lived in close proximity to Ukraine, but it wasn't her main language. Like I understand, I don't even speak, like I understand, but I don't speak it. Same with her. And suddenly she's learning songs in Ukrainian, she sings in Ukrainian, she holds conversations in Ukrainian. And I'm thinking, she can't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. How is she learning a song in a language she's not really that familiar? So that was really puzzling for me. So I asked one of the guy who, like, we had to go to doctor, and he said it's probably different parts of the brains that she's using. So memory is retained better when she's learning songs. And I'm like, how would we switch to that part of the brain that can still work and hold memories, when she does like daily stuff? Like, so it's quite interesting. So I think in general, it's good to stimulate all kinds of brains, and new development, new skills developments do that. So it's almost like we're unlocking something in the brain, maybe creating new pathways. At least that's what I understand from the literature and doctors. And I heard my mom's gerontologist at Baycrest Hospital. She was amazed. Like I was showing her videos of my mom and pictures, and how she's like, on stage and like really like enjoying. She was laughing. That's another thing, is I didn't hear my mom laugh. Like she smiled, but she didn't laugh in a long time. And that was, so those little things, like I, as a family member, I noticed. Maybe it's not, it doesn't look like a big deal, but to me it was a big deal, because it looks like she really enjoyed life, right? Like she was laughing. She took initiative. She said, in front of the people, okay, let me sing this song I just learned. And she started singing and laughing. And then another 80-something-year-old said, I never sang anything either. Like, I don't, I want to sing. I don't know if I have a voice. And she started singing. And she said, because, my mom sang, it kind of encouraged her to do that. So seeing that, not only in my mom, it's not an isolated case, everybody in the group said. So we had, for example, a music teacher, and she's a voice coach who was helping group to sing publicly. She said her mom actually came from Ukraine, stayed with us for a few weeks. She came to, and then she went back to Ukraine. And she said, and when she was, singing with us, and she read her poetry, so this lady, Maria, she said, you know what, my mom is not like that normally either. She was quite depressed. Her son actually died, so there was a lot of, like, Ukraine is like, it's a difficult situation there. So she said, she's normally not like that, and she hasn't been like that open before. And when she went back to Ukraine, suddenly she's working on a new poetry book and she wants to publish it. So it's almost like we opened them all up. They want to do things. They feel now that they still have something to give. Like, again, I have a video where my mom says, we still can do it. Like, we still have. So that's exact words. Like, it's her words. So when I'm looking at it, it's almost like I'm doing some kind of experiment, but it's very positive, like, results. I'm so encouraged by that, and I want to do more of it. And I'm thinking, like, why don't we do more of this kind of things? Like, why are we always dragging people? It's like, oh, you're depressed, here's a pill. It's an easy solution. Why not create more environments? All people want is just interact and talk and have connections, and then it's like sky's the limit. So yeah, so like, I mean, we tried things. I never imagined my mom would be like dancing merengue with a guy on a stage, right? Like, it just so, because I knew my mom, like, in the last couple of years, things became more dark. She became more aggressive, more like not happy. She tells almost every day that, I should just go, like basically like die, like that's it, like my life, like what's the point, like very dark thoughts all the time, and suddenly like laughing her head off and enjoying life and hugging everyone. She's a big hugger, apparently. She's like, so it looks like she really like got something that she needed. Like, that's exactly what she needed. And I think all I did is just really made kind of created a welcoming environment, like nothing else. Like, I haven't done anything spectacular or groundbreaking. It's just helping people to connect, making it easier for them to find each other. Because I did, put a call out in the community. I said, we're looking for ladies 60 plus, like Ukrainians who speak Ukrainian or Russian. We'll have also English going there. So we even had some Canadians coming, and they enjoyed it too. We had in the last Friday, we had a lady who's 92. She came second time now, and she enjoyed just listening to Ukrainian music. Like, we speak, a lot of people speak English to her. She doesn't understand everything, but she still enjoyed the vibe. Like, it was really a nice environment. So I guess that's my story.
Thank you, Marina. I already have so many questions for you, and I'm sure the audience as well, but we're going to hold them and we'll hear from Spring because I think there'll be some overlap as well. But amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. All right. How's everybody doing? Good? All right. So we're going to switch to Spring. Hi, Spring.
Hello.
So I've made it that you can also share your screen if you want
Okay.
to. And let's now listen about your project.
Well, I can see why you chose the two of us because there's such a nice synergy. Yeah, very interesting story, Marina. So my name is Spring, and I work for UBC, the University of British Columbia, but it's a unit in our inner city in Vancouver called the Downtown East Side. And it's a community engagement initiative. And what that means is we try to engage with the community, and there's many different populations within that neighborhood. We use an asset-based community development model, which basically is just that two-way exchange of learning, teaching and learning. And we always say anyone who walks in the door has something to teach and something to learn. And my program is the English Conversation Program. Pre-COVID, I used to say more than 50% were Chinese seniors, and the rest were immigrants and refugees from all over the world. That number has shifted, and we're just in the process of doing an updated demographic study. Still probably 50% seniors, but I think the Chinese seniors have dropped, and we're now getting a lot more refugees. We've been pretty inundated with refugees, and we're getting the overflow from the subsidized government language programs. So things are shifting. I was also struck when Marina said, you know, her mom partially inspired this program, because when COVID hit, prior to that, I wouldn't have thought we could get our program up on Zoom. And it was once I got my elderly parents up on Zoom that I realized, you know what, we can do this. And we did end up putting some of our classes online. And that's continued. So we have 1 full day of classes online and 2 in-person days. And we have from 0 level language conversation to level 3, which is our sort of lower intermediate class. We started a program called Seniors Thrive some years ago, and it really became language learning through the arts. And Natalia and I have written about it and presented at conferences. And the goal of that program was, sure, language learning, but we always say social connection was really the key. And so we, in addition to our regular conversation classes, we've had a choir, a drama club, dance classes, drop-in karaoke, and creative writing. Natalia, of course, did a whole series on creative writing and wrote her dissertation on it. So, and the intergenerational aspect, the facilitators for our program, we train some local folks in the inner city. There's the broader community that comes in and volunteers and leads the classes. And then we also have access to UBC students. So there's a real mix of ages, both with the facilitators and among the learners as well. And we do a lot of collaborations. And you'll see how important performance is too. I was really struck by Marina's example there, but I did want to play a little video that was a collaboration between our choir and our songwriting class. And so hopefully I will be able to share my screen successfully here. Okay. And can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make it full screen, hopefully here. So there's a whole story on our homepage, UBC Learning Exchange, that tells a little bit more about that. But it was kind of a lovely way we connected with this local artist in the community. And then we did a kind of a parade with these funny musical instruments and had this musical jam under an underpass in the neighborhood. And yeah, all the while people are speaking English, and I always like to say it's language learning by stealth. And so at the moment we are working on with weaving, and that's been an ongoing series for us, and we're experimenting with all different types of weaving. So now I'm just going to show you a few photos. Let me see if I can do this again. Here we go. Can you see those?
Not yet.
Oh,
Still loading. It says started screen sharing. Oh, here, now we can see it.
okay, good. All right, now let's see. Okay, so we've started this series that we're calling Talk and Textiles. So again, it's language learning, but we have folks come in from our other programs. We have like a drop-in for the neighborhood. They can come in and use the computers and have a coffee, watch a documentary film. There's lots of other programming going on in the space. So sometimes we collaborate with some of the other programs, and they come into the classes as well. And that gives our language learners a chance to meet them, meet different people, and practice with native speakers. So yes, we started with weaving, and this we started with the basics like magazine weaving, paper weaving, so that they'd learn the basic skills easily. And then so we had lots of fun with cutting and pasting. And then we moved into Salish wool weaving. So we had some indigenous weavers come in. And the beautiful thing, we were talking about losing language, and in indigenous cultures, of course, that's very prevalent. But also we talked about other ways you can lose language through dementia, losing a mother tongue, all of these things. So those are the sort of cross-cultural conversations we were having while we learned how to weave. And here we were making wristbands. And so you can see everyone displaying their wristband. And then we went outside and we harvested plants and turned them into something weavable. So we actually made linen out of flax, and we spun things, and then we were able to finish. We even had dog hair in this piece. So there was all this weaving that was taking place outside, and we learned the whole process. And then we moved into cedar weaving. Again, had some indigenous teachers come in and teach us more about cedar weaving. And things got a little more complicated. And what we found was, because they'd learned the basic skills, they were able to understand and adapt quite easily. And then we were gifted a loom quite unexpectedly. And this beautiful thing happened where we were using old clothing, and people would bring in their old clothing that could no longer be donated with dignity. And we were using that cloth in these community pieces, and people were telling these beautiful stories about the meaning of the piece that they had brought in. So it's like it got new life through the story, and then the story was woven into the community piece as well. And so we're still doing a lot of this rag rug weaving. Now we're making trivets before Christmas, so that people can have a gift to give away. But you can see we made 2 hangings, and now we have a whole loom room. that we're where we're hanging all the various pieces. But I wanted to say just about the celebration aspect, because we have found that it's important to have that end goal and that kind of coming together. And so we've had a lot of that performance built into our classes, whether it was a poetry reading or a creative writing reading, a dance, some way of bringing it out to the public. Like at Christmas, our choir will sing in the drop-in, and sometimes it's bigger, and sometimes we've even performed at conferences and big events, and sometimes it's smaller. But they all tell us that it's a really important part of their learning, and they appreciate the performance. As far as successes go, we see it, as Natalia mentioned, in the confidence level of our folks. It's not, basically, they're getting 1 or 2 hours of language learning a week, maybe a regular class and an arts-based class. They're not going to improve that greatly unless they're practicing in other areas. So, but their confidence level improves. So they're not so worried about making mistakes, or, you know, their shyness disappears. And then we found some of them even stepped up into more leadership roles. Some of them became facilitators in the English classes, and friendships, lots of friendships. That social connection piece is just so critical. And we've had learners go on to, you know, grow a garden in one of the community gardens in the neighborhood, or even refer people to our program, which is another step up of referring and leadership. Yes, so that's our little program in a nutshell. Thank you.
Amazing, Spring. Such warm memories being with you in Vancouver. And thank you for sharing. Indeed, there is a lot of synergy between what Marina is talking about and what you're talking about, and what research consistently shows us as well. I've been adding some comments in the chat, so including the links to the news piece where you shared the video from. All right, so, but thank you both for talking and sharing some of your work. If anybody has any questions, this is the time, or comments. This is the time to tell Spring or Marina. Yes, Pat, please. I'm going to unmute you, please. Yes.
They were both absolutely fascinating presentations, can I say? I really enjoyed both of them. Just a couple of things I was going to say to Marina. Marina, do you know about the meeting center movement? It started in the Netherlands, and basically a meeting center is somewhere where people who live with dementia and their family and carers and friends come together. It's something that we are developing quite strongly in Scotland at the moment, but it is actually, it started in the Netherlands. That's one question. And happy to serve, you know, find connections there. And the other thing is, do you happen to have ever met a lady called Mary Fridley? She's based in New York, and she talks about the joy of dementia. And it sounds as if your mother's an amazing example of that. Again, I can share Mary's contact details, but she's well worth talking to. And it's very much about the fact that dementia doesn't have to be, you know, as you were describing before your mum discovered this new life. It doesn't have to be like that. And it can be more like what you're describing now, which is just amazing. Thank you.
I didn't know about either. I did a little bit of research trying to see what international examples are there. But I really went on my intuition, and I talked to people. So my background is in user experience design, like I design experiences. And I pretty much knew where to start, how to, you know, what questions to ask, and did my own research with the group. I did sort of iterations, like we tried different things until we tweaked the program a little bit so it's more comfortable for them. Like I asked for feedback, and we did include family members, so it is a family feel. A lot of times, grandmas come with grandchildren because they have to babysit at this time. And we said, okay, we'll just create another table for kids to draw. Sometimes they actually dance Zumba with us, like with grandmas, and they drew with grandmas. So it actually became a point of like, getting to know families, not only just like, two ladies talking to each other, but because their family members were there. I think it became even better environment for getting to know each other better. I've got a lot of feedback from family members too, because like I would call, for example, daughter, and she says, I just tried to talk to my mom, and she said, no. She closed the door and she said she's, rehearsing something for Pasidinki. Super important for her to be ready, like to sing or whatever she was supposed to be doing that evening. And she's like, okay. So like each of them had something like a purpose almost, right? Like, and they kept each other accountable. Like they were saying, like, if my mom sometimes says, I've been trying and trying to learn, but I can't remember. And everybody was very encouraging. Like, once the music will start, playing, you'll remember, we'll help you. Everybody was so encouraging. But on the other hand, they felt responsible. Like, I have to do it because others expect me to, to sing. And one lady went on stage. She said, she was singing on stage, and she said, her legs were trembling. She was so nervous, so she would never do this in her life. But because of the group, she did this for the group because everybody did something, and she felt like I'm part of the group, which I thought is amazing. So yes, we had the family, included family, and it was more open for, like outside people to come as well. But the core group was same people coming every week. Yeah, I'd love to read international examples if you have that. That would be interesting to see.
Yes, Pat, maybe you can add them in the chat, the names of the people you just mentioned, or you can email them to me and I'll pass.
I think that's going to be easier because I'm on my iPad and I'm not very familiar with it.
Okay,
So
yeah, you can always.
I would struggle to use the chat, but I can happily, yes, I'll share them with you.
Yeah, I'm just everybody.
Yeah,
email
sure.
me things and I'll pass them around as well.
That'd be lovely. Thank you.
All right, thank you for this question. Very interesting. Yes, Chris, please.
I'm muted.
You're on silent.
Unmute yourself, Chris. Everybody forgot.
Still can hear.
Maybe it's because of your headphones.
He's mute still. I can't hear him.
Yeah. Okay, we'll give you a second to fiddle. Maybe there's somebody else, or I have a question as well. Yes, Evgenia, please.
Yeah, hi, hello, and I'm happy to be here. Professor Rob Mark invited me to this wonderful community, so I'm first time here. Just briefly, I'm Ukrainian researcher here in Glasgow, based at the University of Glasgow. In my background, I was a director of this University of a Third Age in Ukraine, based in Ukrainian University. This is like I understand all these cases what Marina mentioned, and I am sure your mom will be fine and will be progressing. Wonderful. We had wonderful results when they sing songs. It's absolutely improve their brain memory, and actually why she is progressing and encouraged because she has this emotional a relation to what she's doing. She's interested in this. This is why her result is so nice. But my question goes to Spreen. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. And I would like to ask you, your community based in your university or where you gather all them together to make such a nice rocks and everything? And who support you in your daily basis? Thank you.
Mhm. We are part of the university, but we're not on the main campus. So we're way off to the side, way it's probably you know, about a half-hour bus ride away, and we're located in the inner city. So we have our own building where we lease the space, and it's a little bit like a community center kind of feel in our building. And so that's where we offer our programming. Sometimes we go out, we have a lot of community partners in the neighborhood. So sometimes we go out to community partners, and we get some core funding from the university for staff, but we rely on private donors. The benefit, though, of having the mothership is that they help us get the donations. So my program and another program just recently got a very large gift from an anonymous donor that's enabled us to actually pay for facilitators, which we'd never really done before. So we're able to properly pay these artists and Indigenous knowledge keepers to come in and work with our folks, which is wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I do want to add that UBC Learning Exchange is quite unique in the way that it is set up. And it was started, I don't know, maybe it can be inspiration for you, Evgenia, and everybody else, is that it was really started by like 2 graduate students who just wanted to do something. And then it, over the years, since the 90s, has grown into this beautiful example of ethical engagement with different communities by the university. So yay, UBC Learning Exchange.
Yeah,
so
this is actually a wonderful experience for us, and we are here based in Glasgow, and Glasgow, one of the most big city with a huge Ukrainian diaspora now and all around the Glasgow. So, and as far as University of Glasgow support many Ukrainian students from like bachelor and master students. So maybe if I will learn spring experience, maybe we will be we will organize something like this here, because yes, third age university is very nice, but they actually most focus on formal education, but non-formal education and such activities what you mentioned in your classes would be very helpful also for Ukrainian migrants, because all of them over 60 facing the same problems which Marina said, like supporting kids, supporting family, but feel absolutely lonely in for themselves. Thank you.
Well, we'll be happy to share some examples and exchange some practices with you. I'm sure Spring will, and we have some examples and as well. We see Chris is rejoining us, but I just wanted to say that what really stood out to me in both of your examples, which is relevant to our special interest group, is the focus on learning, because so much of educational work with seniors is done through the lens of social work. But here we need to be reminded that learning is a lifelong process, and it goes just beyond just doing activities for the sake of doing activities, but it is something that people are learning, right? They're learning new skills, they're learning new confidence, and so it's very important. Hi, Chris. Yeah, sorry about I know that most people in the UK use Zoom. Maybe if you can type in your question, I can read it out for or maybe your comments. I'll be happy to read it out for everybody as well. So my comment or question, we only have 10 minutes left, but maybe briefly, because I think Marina and Spring, you both work with older immigrants, but who are joining with people from different backgrounds. Even Marina, your example of Ukrainian and Russian immigrant women who have lived in Canada for quite a long time, now meeting, Ukrainian immigrant women or migrant women rather, who are new to Canada. So there is a certain element of intercultural exchange as well. So it's intergenerational, but it's also intercultural. And so many of us who work in immigrant communities know that it's not a monolith, homogeneous group. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that, what kind of intercultural exchange are you noticing in addition to the learning that you're observing in your programs? Either one of you can answer. I'll just spotlight both of you.
So yes, like I said, we kind of opened up our program a little bit for Canadians to join, and we had some sessions because we want to introduce newcomers to other cultures in Canada. We had, for example, Chinese ladies coming and dancing for us their dance at one of the events. And then everybody enjoyed dancing together to a Ukrainian song and having fun. So it really was like, it wasn't every time like that, but we had certain days, like we had Latin nights, Chinese night, like we had like those moments when people from other cultures came to our group or came to support us when we had a concert, and it was amazing. Everybody enjoyed dancing together, enjoyed food together. We had a Chinese lady doing floral craft at the event, and everybody was really like super interested. And you can see, like even from the picture, sometimes I look at back, like everybody was so focused. A lot of Ukrainians were around. They were looking at, they were really curious about other cultures in Canada. We are planning to do Indigenous nights too, because I know a lot of Indigenous artists that would like to come and do like a beading class, jewelry beading class, or moccasins, or drawings and paintings. They all expressed interest in learning more about other cultures in Canada. And when we did that, it was super successful. So everybody was kind of like on a high note, like welcoming. And I was actually amazed. Like I didn't know how this, if we bring whole group from, it was a Chinese Baptist church, like there was like 15 or 20 Chinese seniors that came to us at our event, but it was such a fun. Again, like looking at pictures, we had a Zumba instructor with her friends from like Venezuela and Argentina, and then my friend that brought those Chinese ladies, and our Ukrainians and Russians, and like family members, kids. So sometimes we had like a real mix of people at our events. But then again, we go back to like kind of core sort of programming when they're the core group is the same people. So I think it works when you do this kind of thing. It's not always like open and like whatever, but you have like a personalized programming for a particular group. But then once in a while have those cultural exchanges. They really infuse energy. They really bring so much new knowledge and skill development, and I think it's beneficial for all involved at that point. So that's from my experience how we were running those cultural exchange sessions, I guess.
Amazing. Thank you, Marina. Spring, what about you? Any insight?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've always had a real mix in our classes. I would say even more so now because we've been getting so many refugees from, well, everywhere, but most recently Afghanistan and Chad. So we've always had cross-cultural, and we really try, even in the English conversation class, we provide a lesson. And so, for example, recently Halloween, we did something on the Day of the Dead rather than Halloween, but then everyone talks about in their own culture a similar kind of celebration that they might have. And so we try to do that. I mean, it's easy with food, you always get people comparing their recipes, and but with weaving, we found like pretty well every culture has some history of weaving in their culture. So that's been a really, really rich cross-cultural conversation for us. And again, we find that through the arts, those kind of conversations, cross-cultural conversations, just occur naturally with very little prompting.
Yes, very interesting. Thank you.
Oh, one other thing I was going to say that's so cool because it transcends language. Our dance class was performing for two of the other classes that were going on at that time. We just invited them to come in and watch the dance. And there was a level 1 learner, and level 1 is really, really basic. and they came in, and so that they were dancing and showing us some sort of more modern dance moves. And then all of a sudden, this senior in the level 1 class just came up to us and started teaching us how to ballroom dance, how to do the waltz properly. And there was no language. It was just all, she would take us one by one. And it turned out she'd been a ballroom dance instructor for 30 years, and none of us knew that until that moment. And she was able to show off this and teach us some really, she was a very firm teacher. And so we just had a great time, and it was this lovely, and it came out in a celebration, like it was a performance. Yeah.
There's a lot of research on the value of performance and celebration, affirming new identity for learners, especially. Yeah, thank you. All right, Chris, how are you doing with the voice test? No?
Probably no luck at all.
Oh, no, yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay.
Just
You
when
can
I
ask
kick
your
in with a
question.
pessimistic eye. Hello, Spring. I found it really fascinating. I'm the chair for a health-based arts charity in the UK, and I'm struck by a couple of things in what you described. One was that there's what you referred to as a regular, which I guess is a structured language course, and then there's the arts-based course. And so one of my questions was about whether there is much overlap between those two classes, or whether there's some people who go for arts and not for the course, vice versa. But the other one is that there's something about arts that kind of blurs the boundaries between leader and participant. That in the story that you just described, which was suddenly someone starts leading a bit of the session. So do you find that actually enables a more participatory approach in which the attendees can become leaders more freely?
Well, we encourage that. I mean, it's our whole asset-based community development model, where a lot of times it's learners who are doing the teaching, or our patrons who are coming in. You know, we do bike repair shops, we do fly tying, you name it, we've done it. And often it does come from the learners. We're also very clear that even our volunteers are facilitators, they're not teachers. So we try not to have that hierarchy. Even our formal English classes aren't, we do provide a lesson, but we always give the facilitators freedom to go off or not even use the lesson at all. If there's a more pressing topic that people want to deal with. So I think they do have a lot of autonomy in the classroom, and but certainly the arts helps. We do sometimes have like an arts-based activity integrated into a lesson. We've even done arts and crafts, type things, and table hockey.
Oh.
With our seniors. It was one of my students once wanted to do a lesson on hockey, and I'm like, I am so not into hockey. I just can't imagine that this is going to be a success.
Yeah.
And it was one of our most successful lessons ever, that with the seniors were just so competitive, and they were in there with their popsicle stick, hockey sticks and buttons, just playing hockey. Yeah.
So thank you. I think you've inspired me to think about a different avenue for one of our arts groups. So I appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Seniors Thrive had a real health component, like that's what we were really looking at, wellness through that program. So
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Marina, for sharing your, whoops, I was going to rename you. Thank you for sharing your work. And thank you, Spring, for also sharing how your whole program is structured. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today, and for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to these two fantastic practitioners share their programming. I'm just going to take 1 second, before 1 minute, before we log off, to highlight that we have another talk coming up next year on March 4th. We have Dr. Marvin Formosa coming to join us, and he will give a research talk titled 5 Decades of All the Adult Learning, Difficulties, Failures, and Future Challenges. Of course, we're so grateful for Dr. Formos taking time to come and talk to us. He's a busy scholar, and I will be sending out reminders with registration through our listserv. And again, if you want more people to join us, just pass them along. You can share my email or the link to register to be on our listserv. And I'll be very happy to continue sharing your news, your updates with our membership. And consider applying for the conference. We would love to have a nice social for the SIG members in the UK. Well, your guys are all UK. I'm going to come. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. And if you have any ideas or suggestions for future talks, let me know. I'll be happy to bring them up to our leadership group. All right. Thank you, Marina.
Good.
Thank you,
Thank
Spring.